Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Kevin.
And this is 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger, the podcast where we take a long, hard look at some of our favorite action movies from the era of Arnold.
Schwarzenegger is the icon of the genre, and we're taking a deep dive into some of these 80s and 90s cult action movies and breaking them all the way down.
All right, everybody, welcome back to part 2 of our breakdown of Terminator. We are joined again by my brother-in-law, Kevin Egan. Welcome,
What's up,
Kevin.
Yeah,
excited to talk about more Cyberdyne dick.
And
Terminator
he's actually
dicks.
joining us all the way from Philadelphia. I forgot to mention it the last time. So we're grateful for him for being here.
So welcome to Kevin. Yeah, welcome to everyone that's listening on our OG 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger feed, or if you're listening to us on the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network. Welcome. I know we're a little late getting to one of Arnold's biggest and best movies, but we're here now.
No,
We're
but that's the
talking
way it
about
should.
Terminator.
I mean, but that's the way it should be, right? You can't give him the whole Arnold experience off top, right? You got to ease him into it.
That's right. And if you're listening to us on the podcast network, find our 6 Degrees of Schwarzenegger feed and check it out, because we got a lot of old back catalog episodes there that we are trying to get on the podcast network, but haven't fully gotten them uploaded yet. But yeah, the first movie that Mike and I ever did was Predator.
Mhm.
If like Terminator 1 and 2 isn't my favorite Arnold movie, then Predator is. I feel like those are like his most sort of well-made, iconic
Yeah.
movies.
I feel like Predator was Arnold at his most Schwarzenegger. if
Yeah,
you will.
like puffing the cigar,
Yeah.
cheating
And he
on
had
his
control.
wife.
He had more control over his content, so he could probably dictate.
So, Kevin, did you grow up watching like all these same action movies, or what were you into like when you were
Yeah,
kid?
I mean, I feel like everything you've been referencing, like loved, like we were talking before, loved the Alien franchise, Alien and Aliens. I was huge into. Loved Predator.
were you fucking with Stallone stuff?
Yeah, oh, I mean, like Cobra.
Yes, Tango
Yeah.
and Cat.
I
Tango
really
and
love
Cash.
Cobra.
I don't think I've ever seen Cobra from start to end. I don't.
You've
think I've
never
ever-
seen it?
Not from start to end. I've seen bits and pieces.
It's a batshit weird.
Isn't
like
that, is Billy D. Williams in that also?
no,
Or is that
no, that's
Night?
That's
Nighthawk?
Nighthawks.
Yeah. Okay.
Nighthawks is another crazy.
Oh no. See, I think
Stallone
I've
flick.
seen Cobra, the supermarket scene. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That opens with the supermarket scene, and then he's like fighting against whatever the Night Slasher or
Gotcha.
something.
Gotcha.
He's got like a weird cult of like an army of killers.
Yeah, that's right. And they surround him like they're like a bike gang, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a crazy flick. It's
Didn't-
got Brigitte Nielsen in it, Mrs.
Mhm.
Stallone.
Didn't he make Cobra because they offered him Beverly Hills Cop and he wanted to make it grittier?
Yes.
And they were like, no, so he made Cobra.
They tried to give him Beverly Hills Cop, and he was like, I love it, but I want to rewrite the movie, and I want to make it not a comedy at all, and I want my character to be named Cobretti, and everyone calls him Cobra. And they were like, thanks, but no thanks.
Seriously,
Sly.
All our Italian listeners out there, do you know anybody named Cobretti? That almost sounds like like if I had written a script and written that name, they would be throwing me out of Hollywood for being racist.
It's like
But if Stallone does it, it's okay.
Well, we talked about the movie Commando, and in the movie Schwarzenegger's name is John Matrix, and it's like no one's ever been named Matrix before. Like that's
Not
insane.
in the history of man.
Nah, never.
I
one.
guarantee that after that movie, somebody named their kid
Oh,
John
yeah.
Matrix.
I'm
John
sure.
Matrix.
I'm
Yeah.
fine, sure. All right, let's get into
But yeah,
this.
let's get to the movie.
Sure.
Oh wait, I'll recap a little bit of what happened on the last episode. So basically, you got the Terminator and Kyle Reese have like materialized in 1984 Los Angeles. They're both looking for Sarah Connor. We don't really know why yet or what's going on. Sarah Connor's like just a waitress and is none the wiser to what's going on, but it has some type of bearing about like what's going to happen in the future. Like the fate of the future war between man and machine is going to be settled here in 1984.
Yeah, this is early in the movie. She has no clue to what's waiting her fate in the future.
Yeah. All
right. So we start off. Kyle Reese is he's sitting in a car in like a construction zone or something like that.
Right.
And there's like all these machines in the back, like these large excavators and everything.
Was it like reminiscent of the world he comes from?
Sure, yeah.
To you, like just these big machines?
Yeah, I think that was the whole point of that scene is that kind of he starts to dream about where he just came from, and there's all these hunter-killers and all these giant machines. So we see Reese and another soldier, they're trying to sabotage one of these giant tanks. Reese's partner is spotted immediately, and as soon as she throws her bomb, she's not killed, but annihilated, like she's blown apart. Which I also thought was interesting that it was a female, because they were trying to say that in the future, everybody's fighting, right? Like it's not just men, it's everybody, right?
Exactly. It's like it's all hands on deck. I also thought that woman was like distractingly attractive, like the soldier. Like she, it's always weird in movies like that, I think, where some extra in the background is like ridiculously hot that it sort of distracts you from the action. But I thought the woman was just gorgeous.
I honestly, because she had on like a helmet, and the helmet looked like it was too big for her because it kept like falling over her head, face, or something like that. But I couldn't gather how she looked. So
she looked good, Mike.
I'll take your word
I'm here to tell you.
So the tank explodes.
Wait, I read where it took like 26 takes with the little model department throwing a little tiny grenade to get it to land just right in front of the model tank.
Really?
Like to where it rolled, she threw it and the model tank, like it landed right in front of the tracks or whatever, and it rolled over it. But that was the 26th take of them throwing the little miniature grenade in front of the miniature tank.
The tank explodes, and it's kind of funny, like the tank it's a big explosion, right? Which I thought was kind of weird, because it's not a hand grenade, but it's not like this big giant bomb either, right? So the entire thing blows up.
It's like the Star Wars shit, though. It's like the thermonuclear, you know what I mean? It's like he's got a thermal detonator or whatever.
Or what was the movie where they kill the bugs, where they have nuclear weapons on the end of their machine guns and stuff?
I don't even know. Not Aliens?
Starship Troopers, yeah. It's like that.
You're talking about like Tremors or something.
Yeah. So the tank explodes. Reese runs away, and he jumps into a car, like a getaway car, to get away, which I thought was interesting. Why did he jump in the driver's seat and the guy jump in the machine gun turret? Why didn't he just jump into the machine gun cover?
Yeah, it was like a weird, like they just wasted a little bit of time.
Yeah, like just get on the machine gun. But anyway, Reese jumps into the car. They start driving away, and they're chased by this flying gunship.
Wait, we talked a little bit in the last episode about Cameron's like future, and I think that in his version of the future, like these flying sort of crafts always look the same. Like I think these flying things in Terminator look the same as the flying ships in Aliens, and they look the same as the flying ships in Avatar.
Yeah, it would have been cool if they had related this world to Aliens, right? That would have been awesome.
Oh yeah, well they never did the Alien Terminator crossover. It was always Alien and Predator crossover.
I mean, maybe that's Avatar 3. Maybe it's just like all building.
Oh shit, the Terminators are going to show up.
It's just like all the same universe.
The Terminator showing up in Avatar 3 would break like me, first off. Like I would die. But you're talking about like box office bonanza. It would be incredible. Reese,
he's a shitty driver.
Is he a shitty driver, or is he just literally trying to get away from a gunship trying to kill him?
Yeah, I guess maybe he just flipped that car quick though.
Yeah, so he flips the car, and I thought this was interesting. They show him trapped in this car, and he's trying to escape while all these flames start trying to engulf him. And I was wondering, is that how he got some of his battle scars? And I think that's like this is the first time that they show him in like a future battle. And he's like trapped and he's trying to get away, but they show it again. And I was like, I'm surprised that he even survived the future, much less got to the past to do the job that he has to do.
For sure. It's like a dangerous world.
Yeah,
right?
I love that they show that. And like, there's not a minute that you're not in mortal danger.
That would be a great tagline for this movie, though. He had to survive the future to get to his past.
Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then they tried to do that movie, right? Like the all future set Terminator sequel,
Which one was
Terminator
that?
Salvation or some shit.
Yeah.
The one with Christian Bale that wasn't great, but yeah, like the future world is also intriguing, and we just see little snippets of it.
Now, not that I love Terminator, right? And I definitely love Terminator 2, two of my favorite movies of all time. But I think after Terminator 3, when he put on those glasses, I think I was done after that.
The third one was dog shit. Now, did you watch the most recent one?
I haven't watched. I don't, like I said, after the third one, I don't think I've watched anything since then.
So,
And I didn't even watch the Christian Bale one, and I like Christian Bale.
yeah,
Right.
the first and second ones were the ones that Cameron was involved in. And then he wasn't involved in any of the ones after that until this most recent one that had Linda Hamilton back in it.
Sure.
And I think they did that thing where they tried to go back and say, like, 1, 2, and this one are the only ones that are, like, official.
Sure.
That's
You know.
canon. Everything else
This
not
canon,
canon.
right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
but don't they even
the
kill?
newer one was okay. It wasn't great, but it also wasn't bad.
But don't they kill John Connor in the latest one with
Yes.
with Hamilton?
They show like a younged up like Eddie Furlong getting mowed down by Schwarzenegger, like they caught up with him in Mexico or some shit.
Sure, yeah, I just don't understand how they keep changing the future. Like, I know time travel movies are always tricky at best, but I think Back to the Future did a great job, right?
Yeah.
So stick with that. Like, just keep it simple, right? Don't try to make 16 time travel movies like where it's all these different megaverses out there. Like, I after the point, you can't follow anything.
Like the plot on this one, I feel like is airtight. And
On
the
this
second one
here?
is pretty tight also.
I mean,
But
it
then
follows
after
the
that,
first
it just
one.
is like too much.
Yeah, you can't keep going back. Like, I think I saw somewhere they were like, well, why don't they just send them back to like,
When Sarah was like a little kid.
or not even that, like send her back to Sarah's like great grandparents when they definitely wouldn't have had weapons to stop the Terminator and
See, but
kill her back then.
They
Kill like the
explain it a
great-grandparent.
little bit, right? Because they say like that all the records were lost in the war, so all they knew about Sarah was that she lived in Los Angeles
So they couldn't have.
in
They
1984.
couldn't
and
have
their name was
found that
Sarah
information.
Connor.
Sure.
So they wouldn't maybe have known anything before like anything but where she was in 1984.
Sure. And that's
I
what they
guess.
call great screenwriting, people.
Yeah. No, James Cameron is a fucking genius.
Uh-huh.
When it
Although
comes
what he
to
could have
this shit.
done was send the Terminator back to find out who Sarah Connors was, and then just
Oh,
have him
and then
hang
another
out
one?
for another couple generations, and then
Sure.
tell the future Terminator to go back even further.
We're completely rewriting this whole.
Yes.
Oh, well, first of all, we got to get out of the construction site, right?
Oh shit! Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
So Kyle Reese wakes up in this construction site and he just drives off into the night, right? But I thought it was really cool that they have all these giant machines that mirror the machines in the future. So meanwhile,
Oh wait, Kyle drives off. No fucking headlights. The beginning of like a tradition for Kyle Reese. This dude never puts his headlights on.
so let's see. Meanwhile, Sarah and her roommate Ginger, played by Bess Mata, and I got something to say about Bess Mata here in a second. Kevin Egan, do you know Bess Mata by any chance?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so they are both getting ready for a date in like this cramped bedroom, and I think Bess or Ginger has on like some headphones and everything.
And Sarah was wearing a Jetsons t-shirt.
I was gonna say that same thing. That had to be on purpose, right? That she was wearing like this futuristic T-shirt.
Exactly. Yeah. No accidents.
yeah.
For sure.
So
But
because
tell
it
us
was-
about Bess Mata though.
Sure. So again, I'm a elder statesman on this show. So back in the day, there was this show called the 20-Minute Workout. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it before, but Bess Mata was like this aerobics teacher on there.
But this was like real aerobics videos.
It was Jane Fonda real aerobics video,
It
right?
wasn't like
'Cause-
a series. It
no.
was like
Well, it was a series, but it was like real aerobics, right? But it was probably one of the most sexualized. I think it came on Showtime
oh shit.
at like night.
She wasn't topless. though.
Yeah, she wasn't topless, but they would put like these aerobics teachers in like the middle of this room, and they would put like this spinning camera around them, and so these aerobics teachers would be doing all these moves, and they would be bending over and just doing splits, and let's just say it was a 12-year-old's best dream ever, right? So I won't get into any further detail, but if you have a moment, go look up 20-minute workout. It was Best Mata.
Ginger was a sex kitten for real.
She was, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Sorry, I'm a little hurrah right now. So yeah, as Ginger jams out to this loud music on her headphone, Sarah answers the phone. Then it turns out to be Rick Rosovic, which is Ginger's boyfriend. He's kind of being really seductive on the phone. He's saying, first I'm going to rip off your buttons off your blouse one by one.
Rosovic is amazing.
Yeah.
I love that dude, man. He was in from Top Gun. He was Slider. He was in Navy SEALs also.
Oh, but he was also in a great Steve Martin movie. What was the name of that movie? With Daryl Hannah. It's based
the one with
on
the long nose?
Yeah, based on Cyrano de Bergerac.
Oh shit. Yeah, I don't know the name.
I think it was called Roxanne. Yeah, that was the name. That was it. That's Roxanne. Right. So he was in that movie, and to me, that's like his best movie.
No, there's no way it's better than Top Gun, man.
Well, I think in Top Gun he was just like male meat, right? And Roxanne, he actually acted
like Crash and Burn, huh, Mav?
Yeah, no, and Roxanne, he actually acted, right? So I bet he would say that. But so Sarah's the one that answers the phone while Rick Rosovic is saying all the stuff, and she's kind of playing with him, right? And she kind of leads him on, and
who is this?
Yeah, she's like, who is this? And Rick is like super apologetic, and I think his name is Matt in the movie.
Yeah,
he's like super apologetic, and he's like, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed, I'm so sorry. And he's like, don't worry, I'll put Ginger on the phone. And which, when Ginger gets on the phone, she still has her headphones on when she gets on the phone. I don't think she takes them off maybe once or twice in the whole film.
And Matt went right back to that same shit. First, I'm going to rip the buttons off your blouse one by one.
Yeah, but he probably saw her 20-minute workout, so I don't blame him.
Made me laugh, and I'll tell you, when I watched it with someone who had never seen the movie before, she laughed her ass off at that.
With that scene right there?
Yeah, like that's such a genuine laugh. First, I'm going to rip the buttons off. Like he had just been rehearsing all day exactly what he was going to say to Ginger. I feel like he
probably said that to the character said that to Ginger a couple of times, right? So elsewhere, we're in a police precinct where cops wrestle with this struggling prisoner.
I remember that shit too. He's like, "Wait till I get my hands on you." I'm like, that is like, cops will fuck you up.
I wondered if the guy that was being arrested was like somewhere else in the movie, because he looked really familiar, but I don't
maybe he was like a pro wrestler. He had that sort of like vibe about him.
Sure,
but anyway.
yeah. So this is where we meet Detective Trexler, who is played by Paul Winfield. All our Star Trek fans might remember him from Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan. He was the captain that was kidnapped by Khan, and then he was going to kill what's his name, Shatner. But he ends up killing himself. That's how I remember it.
That dude's in a lot of flicks.
And I was about to say, I hate it when I only know somebody from like this sci-fi thing, when I'm sure Paul Winfield probably did like Roots or like just really groundbreaking, dramatic stuff. But I know him from like just from my childhood. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No.
It's just how I know him.
He did tons of like TV in the 60s and 70s, but I remember him well. He was like the Secret Service, the good Secret Service agent in Cliffhanger, and Stallone's Cliffhanger.
Oh.
I was like, but I think, yeah, he's one of these dudes. Like he was a contemporary, probably of like Sidney Poitier and James Earl Jones. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was in the flick.
He's just like slowly drinking his coffee, like smoking. He's like calm. He's seen this all before, right? It's no big thing. We're also introduced to Vukovic, which is played by Lance Henriksen. Now that Lance Henriksen, if you're listening to this podcast, I don't have to explain who this dude is. You've seen him before, right? He's been in so many things.
Yeah. He's the other trifecta of having gotten killed by a Terminator, an Alien, and a Predator.
Sure.
Like him and Bill Paxton have the inglorious designation of being the Triple Crown winners of those guys.
Yeah, he was Bishop, right? He got ripped in half by the Alien Queen.
Yeah.
And then he gets fucked up by a Terminator later on. Spoiler alert. But what was his role in the Predator universe?
Yeah, so he was in, I think he was in the first Alien versus Predator.
Oh.
Okay.
And he plays like the CEO, like the namesake of the Wyland Corporation.
Oh
No
shit!
way, really?
Yeah, and
Okay.
actually his middle name is Bishop, so that I think it's supposed to then be a whole like throwback that like,
Sure.
oh, Bishop was created in his image and named after his,
And he's
Okay.
he's killed in that movie.
he is. He's killed by a predator.
Gotcha.
The rumor goes that James Cameron originally had envisioned that Henriksen was going to play the Terminator
Yeah.
in this movie. Like that when his idea was that the Terminator was just like an average looking
Yeah.
guy who could blend into a crowd. But then once Schwarzenegger came on, all that changed, obviously. But
Well,
Yeah,
then he
and
got his way in Aliens, right? Like he was the
yeah.
the artificial.
Yeah, man, Bishop should go.
Yeah.
Good idea. God, I love
So
Aliens,
Cameron
man. That's
Vi-
my favorite shit, dude. I'm going to watch that when I fall asleep tonight.
So what are
Game
you gonna-
over, man. Game over.
And when he's like, this little girl has survived with no weapons and no training. Well, why don't you put her in charge?
We're slowly going to turn this into like the Aliens podcast, right?
Shit. Yeah, we'll get to that one sooner or later.
But Lance Henriksen, I think he also helped raise money to get this film off the ground.
Oh, yeah?
So Cameron found him this role of Vukovic because he couldn't play the Terminator. So Vukovic shows Trexler these two reports. First, he's like, "Hey, look at this name on this document," and he's like, "Oh, Sarah Connor." He's like, "Now look at the other one." He's like, "Oh, Sarah Connor." And I thought it was kind of amazing that they immediately put one and one together to figure out there was like the serial killer out there killing Sarah Connors, right? Like it wasn't like an accident. Like,
A one-day pattern killer.
yeah. And, yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
If nothing else, it's just like the largest coincidence in the world, right? Like they're worried that like the press is going to go crazy
Sure.
with the story, and that's going to just make their life hell, I guess. I
Yeah.
hate the weird ones. Like I feel like Vukovic says that same line like 3 or 4 times in the movie. I hate the weird ones.
Yeah. But they jump right into it, right? Like automatically assuming that there is like this pattern in these killings. And I just don't know how police work goes, but I thought that was kind of quick. But there's a lot of stuff like that in this movie.
Oh, I mean, if nothing else, it's like shit. We got to look into this.
Sure,
right?
absolutely. Yeah. Back at Sarah's place, she and Ginger are finally finished getting ready for the night. As Sarah looks for her missing iguana named Pugsley, which I thought was really interesting. We had talked about this before we started recording. Why did everything in movies is done for a reason, right? So why did they introduce Sarah owning Pugsley? What do you think, Kevin?
Like, why an iguana?
Yeah, why an iguana?
Which is odd.
Ooh, that is odd.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like to
Just to be different?
yeah, it's like you say like
I
to
don't
make
know.
her quirky and like maybe I don't want to say like humanize her, but to be like, well, she's got a pet, but not just any kind of pet.
Exactly. I thought they
Iguana.
tried to do that to make her look a little like off kilter or something like
Yeah.
that. But they also wanted to make her motherly, so they gave her an
Yeah.
iguana. It was just so weird.
That is
out
a
of
weird choice.
Like who hasn't? Well, I'm sure there are a lot of people who have iguanas as pets, especially
Maybe in
people
California.
especially people listening to this podcast. But I just thought it was interesting that because normally it would have back then it would have been a cat, right? It was just.
It should be the cat. Yeah. On paper, like if a lesser director was making the movie, maybe it's a cat.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he made Aliens too. Now, well, I guess there was a
Oh, he
cat
did
in
have the
Alien,
cat.
right?
The cat was in the first one, though. Yeah.
there was
that
a cat in the
all
first one,
carryover.
and so there was a cat in the second one. So that makes sense. But what if that had been a space iguana? That would have just been weird, right?
I mean, maybe they wanted to stay away from like the crazy cat lady sort of like,
So-
that's always like a played out cliche.
It's too easy
Sure.
in like in horror movies or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess. My parents told me this like a long time ago that everything happens for a reason in a movie, and so Cameron was like, "No, you should have a pet iguana," and I've always just been like, "Well, why?" Because honestly, the iguana adds nothing to the film. Right? You could have left other than this one jump scare later on.
I wonder if the Terminator killed the iguana later on.
Now, what if they had like a shot of the?
It was a laser scope on him.
They would have never done this, but what if they had shown the like the Terminator stepping on the iguana
Oh,
and
just
crushing it?
squishing him?
Yeah, they would have never done that, right?
Well, it is interesting. Yeah, that's interesting though to think back. Like, so it couldn't be a dog, right? Like we've established that the
Oh,
dog
yeah,
Could have been a
would
dog.
have
That's right.
We don't know how
would have
cats-
known.
Yeah, we don't know how cats respond to Terminators.
That's right. It couldn't have been a dog. So so he was like, well, they have to have something, and I guess
Maybe it could be something that can't make a noise. An animal that is silent.
So I said a snake.
Yeah.
I was like, well, why couldn't she have had a snake? But then it would have made no sense for the snake to get out of the. They had to establish that she had a pet, right?
I guess so. Just to have that one jump scare.
Yeah, I feel like for that jump scare alone. Yeah.
But I thought Ginger looked great, and Sarah looked. Her hair in this movie sort of is a disaster. Don't you think? Like that's one of the most dated things about the movie is Sarah Connor's hairstyle.
Do you think they did that on purpose?
I think that was hot. I think that was probably a hot look in '84.
That big. Well, so Ginger had the big
sort of perm.
80s like glamour shot hair,
Ball
right?
hair.
Yeah, like kind of curly, wet looking, but just huge, right? Full of like product. Like none of us have that hair on this podcast. But Sarah's was more motherly. Just the way, the way she was dressed when she was going to go out on this date.
Yeah, she was sort of like Ginger unbuttoned her button for her, like to try to sex her up or whatever.
Sure. Like I think they wanted to make her look super innocent, and to kind of like contrast of what she was going to become. So Sarah checks the answer machine. There's a message from this guy named Dan. He's like, oh, basically, I'm gonna have to cancel our date tonight. I'll make it up to you in a couple of nights or something like that.
Imagine that's a lucky dude. Like he dodged a bullet by.
Yeah.
If he was with Sarah that night, things might have gone very bad for him.
Yeah, he would have ended up. Well, yeah. There,
I would love a sequel that's just following that guy around that night. You know, like they always do those like one-offs where like it's like a side character and all the action's happening off to the side.
Kind of like Rogue
just
One.
him being like, no, I guess I get stood up.
He's off with some other
Like,
woman.
what if he
works?
What if he worked at Cyberdyne and he was the one that's like, that's why he had to cancel. That's
That night, he went and invented AI.
Sure.
The voice of that dude, that was James Cameron's voice on the answering machine. I liked his style, man, because he stood her up like with such swagger too. He's like, oh, sorry, I'm not going to be able to make it tonight. He's like, I'll call you in a couple days.
But the thing, I didn't get that he. So first of all, if you're going to ghost somebody, you just ghost them, right? You don't call them. Like,
I think he wanted to see her again. He just probably had something came up. He said,
I think something came up. Like that's what happens.
Dude, I felt like that answering machine was fucking huge. It was like the size of a VCR or some shit. God. No one listening probably knows what a VCR is anymore. Actually, our audience probably knows about VCRs.
I actually own a VCR.
Kids today don't know about VCRs, but do you think did Sarah and Dan ever talk again? The dude on the phone?
No, never, ever, because she was
her life changed a lot.
Yeah,
she has no memory of that guy.
Yeah, exactly. She's like,
she probably would have been like, she would have called, like Dan called back a few days later, and she's like, yeah, I'm pregnant.
Now, see, if you're gonna introduce that character, introduce him in T2, like as somebody that's killed along the way or something, or somebody that gets her out of her prison, or her psych ward or something like that.
Well, yeah, because she gets institutionalized, and we don't know how quickly after this, right?
It must have been some years later that she had John for several years, I think.
Yeah, John was.
Oh, that's true. That's right. That's right.
So we cut to Sarah. Now she's undressed, basically, not nude, but she's dressed. She's dressed down to like her just like street clothes and everything. And she says she's going to go out and catch a movie, which she doesn't do, right?
Maybe she did before dinner. I don't know, but I like her style. Like. I love treating myself to a movie.
Who goes to dinner and a movie in LA by themselves?
Like on a Friday night?
That does not happen.
I like to go to a movie by myself, but I'll go like on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yes, I'll go.
I don't try to go out on a weekend night.
And I wear sunglasses so nobody knows it's me.
I'll stay at home and cry on weekend nights.
So Sarah's dressed down and she's going to head out to catch a movie. I thought this was really interesting. The outfit that she wears, which should be like a Halloween costume, is pretty much the outfit she wears for the rest of the movie, right? Because
it's like a pink tie-dye and jeans.
It's a pink tie-dye, it's jeans, and it's like a purple jacket, right?
Was that like a members-only type jacket? It was something like it looked like that.
I'm not sure, but I know that she wears that basically for the rest of the movie.
So she's probably smelling kind of gamey by the end too. A lot of running around.
So as she walks out the door, she's startled by Ginger's boyfriend, Matt. And you could tell that there's like this rapport between the two. Like Matt gives her like a kiss on the cheek and she's totally cool with it. But I think basically what Cameron was trying to establish is that she truly loves Ginger and Matt. as
Yeah,
friends, right?
She's probably been Ginger's like roommate for a while,
Sure,
I guess.
sure.
And Matt showed up. He was like fucking ready to plow, man.
He kind of
Like
was. I mean, if Beth, well, anyway, I'm married.
Yeah, dude. Whatever her name was, Mata. They never left that apartment again. I'll tell you that.
Never,
Never,
right,
ever,
like
ever,
literally
ever.
never.
Actually, literally, yeah.
Sarah heads to the parking lot to jump on her Vespa, her Transformers Vespa. But there's like this weird like sixth sense that she has, and she kind of looks around nervously to see what's going on, but she doesn't really see anything. So she takes off on her scooter, and then they show a shot of Kyle Reese. He's sitting in this busted up Cadillac, I believe, and he takes after her.
No headlights again. I'm just saying it would not. How long do you think you could cruise around a major populated city with no headlights before you got pulled over? Like if you're just cruising, an hour or less?
So they're out there looking for the shitty pants bandit. So they're occupied and they're not worried about.
They're getting an all points bulletin out on the hobo band.
They're not worried
bandit.
about some rando in a car with no headlights.
They're not worried about the dude who like killed the gun shop owner.
Yeah, apparently not.
Or punched right through the punk.
No,
They're
apparently
searching for the pants bandit.
They're searching for that and the Sarah Connor killer, right? So those are the two biggest news stories. So at the police precinct, Trexler fends off questions from a gang of reporters. One of them who mentions that, hey, these names are in the same order in the phone book. Is that like a thing? Trexler washes down some aspirin with like some cold coffee.
Is that the shit where he's like, yeah, I put a cigarette out in that?
Yeah, because
coffee.
he's just like Vukovich is just now messing with him. Trexler starts giving Vukovich a bunch of shit, right? He's like, did you call her? Did you send out like a car to her house? And Vukovich is like, yeah, I did all that. And Trexler's like, well, do it again, right? Just make sure we get to her.
I love the dynamic between Trexler and Vukovich.
Oh yeah, they're friends, right? They've been partners for forever. They're good friends, right?
They have like a good rapport though, a
Yeah.
good chemistry between the actors.
Sure, and it shows up later. I hate when I do that, but this movie is all about the future, right? So whatever. So Vukovich calls and gets the answer machine. Ginger and Matt, or I'm not going to say
No,
this.
that shit with the machine was also like very, whatever, like foreboding or foreshadowing, where it's like,
Yeah.
haha, you're talking to a machine.
Yeah, they say that a lot, right? They're like,
And
you're
it's like,
talking to
see, yeah, nothing. Cameron is such a good writer. Like nothing is an accident.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely remember that. So Ginger and Matt are getting busy in the bedroom, right? And Ginger still has on her headphones, right?
Well,
So-
they might have lived if they had answered the phone. Don't you think?
yeah, maybe.
Like if they said, "Hey, you're in danger.
But also,
Get out of there."
No, wait, the boyfriend would have been like, we can bone one more time. He was definitely like, I got it in me. 30 seconds, we're good.
What I thought was really interesting is it wasn't Ginger that cut the headphones on. It was Matt that cut them on, right?
Crank that volume
Yeah,
up.
he was the one who's like cut them on while she's dancing. He was like, "You just concentrate on your music
do what you're doing."
while I'm taking care of this." So Trexler and Vukovich are frustrated at this point. They're talking about what the media is going to say. They're saying it's going to be a phone book killer. They hate all these press cases,
I hate the weird ones.
especially the weird ones. So Trexler, he's like, okay, I'm going to be smart about this. I'm actually going to use the press to get a message out there to Sarah Connor. Maybe I can, if I give a statement to the press, then maybe Sarah Connor will hear that and then she'll call in, which is smart police work, right?
Right. He's like, "How do I look?" And he's like, "You look like shit."
Oh yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
your mama," which I feel like could have been like one of the original "your mama" jokes.
It establishes their rapport, right? So Sarah's eating a pizza in a bar. This is after she'd already
See,
gone
this
to
could have been
a
after the
movie.
movie, don't you think?
Yeah, she didn't go to a movie. I don't.
You don't think she blew up the movie?
that's too much. That's too much time that would have had to have passed by, I guess.
But what
anyway,
time would it be that the news was on?
So they were getting
It
ready.
could have been like the 10 or 11 o'clock news after the movie.
So let's say they were getting ready to go to dinner, right? So they're getting ready at 7, which would have made dinner like 8, but that didn't happen. So now she goes to a movie at 8.
Yeah, and
Which
now
would've
she's
made
like catching the 11 o'clock news.
So she's having dinner at like 10.
That's a late ass dinner. Yeah, she's
Right.
eating pizza at the bar or whatever.
Sure. So now she's having dinner at a bar, and she, out of the corner, she hears the news talking about the murder of the second Sarah Connor, which we never see.
That's odd that they didn't show it. just because, whatever, like any chance to show a kill on screen seems like something they would want to do. But
well, there's already at this point enough deaths, but I don't think that they needed to kill. I don't think they needed to show the second Sarah Connor being killed to establish that the Terminator's out there killing all these people. And I at this point, we have to know that the Terminator's the bad guy, right? Like,
well, we know Schwarzenegger's bad.
Yeah.
We know the big dude's bad. I think we could also think that this Kyle Reese is bad too. The other dude, the littler guy.
I guess the movie has established that Arnold Schwarzenegger is the bad guy. He's the Terminator. But it seems like they're trying to establish that Kyle Reese is also the bad guy.
He's scary, right?
Yeah. Or they're at least trying to establish that to Sarah, which I think is interesting because normally you would want the audience to be in on that joke also, right? Because I feel like the audience is like, no, go with this guy, right? Go with Kyle Reese. We think he's a good guy, right? But she doesn't know that. So I thought that was like an interesting take from Cameron on how to do that. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I don't remember seeing that where the good guy is an obvious good guy, but the audience already knows that. If that makes sense.
He kept the audience wondering for like halfway through the movie, basically.
Well, he should have. I think he should have not had Arnold kill this many people.
Oh, you think it should have been like which one's the bad guy?
Exactly, like they did in T2, where it's like it's a mystery up to a certain point, right? If he had done that in T1, like if he hadn't had Arnold just kill all these people, like at this point, I'm not even kidding, he's killed probably all the people he's killed in the movie, almost, right?
I'll say why I like that, though. I'll say why it works for me is because I think it sets up like how desperate the situation is for Reese and for Connor. Like this dude is such a badass.
Sure.
Punching through people's chests, buying up weapons like they're candy, just, not indiscriminately, but like efficiently killing whatever gets in his way. And it's like, oh, they're up against like some desperate odds with this fucking thing.
He's like unstoppable, like invincible, whatever.
Yeah, I guess that has to be the way.
I think it's the trade-off, right? Like,
he had to go with that.
You can't have both. You either have to have like this thing is going to be impossible to beat, or we don't know which way this is going.
Sure. Yeah, I guess having seen the movie like, I don't know, a handful of times and knowing that Kyle Reese is the good guy, it kind of doesn't make sense in hindsight, but it would have made sense in the moment, right? She goes to a payphone and she checks the phone book to see, where's Sarah Connor? Where am I at on this list of Sarah Connors, right?
Shit. I'm the only Sarah Connor left.
And she's like, oh shit, I'm next, right?
Facts.
So she tries to make a phone call. I thought this was interesting.
You would be scared in that same situation, right? Like,
if I saw like I was the third Michael Payne and the other two Michael Paynes had just been killed by this rando.
Even if this was just a straightforward horror movie, it's a good premise.
Yeah.
For like, even if it wasn't sci-fi and whatever, if they're just like, oh, someone's killing people with the same name as me and like I'm the only one left, like, that's a great premise. Yeah, and she already had like that sixth sense, so she kind of had like a feeling that was something going on. Yeah. This is the second time she heard it, right? That's why she's so scared. She tries to pick up the phone and make a phone call, but the phone's not working, which I always thought was interesting. There's literally like a note on the phone that says, but she never opens it up. So I wonder if that was like a miscue by Linda Hamilton. Not flipping because it had to be. And then there was that other dude standing off to the side that was just like kind of creeping on her.
Yeah, who could have
like staring at her, but I think it's just to like build the paranoia or the fear or whatever it was.
Yeah, I thought it was just like extra who they were like, just stand there and look at her, right?
I think that's exactly what it was, but to her it's like a threat.
Sure. So she leaves the restaurant, she walks out into the street, and this is where she first sees Kyle Reese, right? And Kyle Reese starts to follow her, and now she's really freaked out, right? Because she already knows that these two Sarah Connors have been killed, and now this guy is following her. She doesn't know what's going on. And again, this is where I said I think that would have been scarier if we didn't know also. But
well, but I think, like I said, I watched it with someone who thought that Kyle Reese was just thought there were two bad guys, like two killers looking for her. So yeah, she was freaked out by both of them. Like, it doesn't have to be that one is good and one is bad. They could both be bad.
So she notices Reese, And then she walks into this club, which is the perfect name for this movie, called Tech Noir. Like, there couldn't have been a better name for a nightclub, right?
I think James Cameron, like he said in an interview, that he thought of Tech Noir as like the genre of the movie.
Sure.
That it was like a dark technology movie, basically.
Just throw some French name on it, and it sounds cool, right? So she
it's
walks
like Blade
into
Runner would be a Tech Noir.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally.
So she ducks into the club. She sees Reese. I don't know if she sees him, but Reese walks by, right? Because he knows what he's doing. Sarah asked the lady working at the box office if she can go use the phone, or if there's a phone there and she can use the phone. And the Sarah's obviously distressed, right? And the lady makes her pay $4.50 cover to get into the club to use the phone,
which is an annoying amount for the cover charge to be. Like, just make it $5. Like, I don't need change, like quarters in my pocket after this.
Well, A, B, like, can you imagine what the cover would have been now? Like $25 just to get into that club, to use the phone call.
I read where, like, or heard someone say, like, when they were filming that people were trying to wander in off the street, like, to get into the set. They thought it was a real nightclub or whatever. That's pretty cool. That song, though, is like burned in my brain also that was playing. It was this like new age sort of song called Photo Play by the band Triangles.
Is it the same song that they play when Terminator? Is it the same song that they play when the Terminator?
Dude, I have that exact note. In my mind, it sounds exactly like the same song, but it's two different songs by the same band, but they sound fucking exactly the same. But that's Triangles. TRYANGLZ.
Some
Triangles.
LA band that never made it, but they had like a hit song in this
one
movie,
hit
right?
wonder or whatever, or they could get the rights to the songs for cheap for this movie.
Sure, yeah. I mean, for $6.8 million, they were like, "Hey, can you play a musical instrument? Come play some music."
And they really leveled up then with T2 with Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Triangles to Guns N' Roses.
So let's see. Sarah goes, she pays the cover. She goes in, she uses the phone, but the phone is busy. So now she hangs up in frustration. Elsewhere, as a police cruiser that went to Sarah and Ginger's house, as it leaves, the Terminator pulls up. This guy's got perfect timing, like as if he's a robot, right?
The police car leaves right as like the Terminator's rolling up. But I thought, I mean, it wouldn't make any difference if there was a policeman there or not. You know, like Terminator's just going to go right through those guys.
Again, I hate talking about the future. You're right, it doesn't. But there's another part in later on in this movie where he's literally can touch Sarah, but he walks away. But I'll get to that in a second.
Well, I wondered to myself, like, what would have happened if he had been noticed by the police right at this moment?
And they're not even looking for him.
Well, even if like a whole SWAT team came in, it'd be a whole different movie. But I don't think they could have stopped him.
They probably could have stopped him, but it doesn't matter because they're not even looking for him. I mean, not that he knows that, but he shouldn't even care. But they're looking for
a creeper to come to Sarah's place, so they would catch on, I guess.
But the Terminator doesn't care. He doesn't care. That's right.
He doesn't care who sees him or
doesn't. He doesn't care who sees him. He doesn't care who's there to stop him. His goal is to go kill Sarah Connor. So if there were cops there, they would have been just like the big burly guy in the at the phone booth, right? Just something else to get out of my way to go kill Sarah. Now, they never established that he knows that the police are some kind of authority in this world. So I don't know. He should have just walked in while the cops were there. But so Ginger pulls on her headphones because they've finished coitus. And
all that fucking.
I imagine that's what it said in the script.
No, she's hungry, man. She's got she worked up an appetite.
Hey, seriously, you got to appreciate a woman that makes you a sandwich and a glass of milk after sex, right? That's real talk right there.
She fucked the hell out of Matt.
Yeah,
he was
passed out. They didn't do like the cigarette, after sex.
Nah, man.
But he was out, right?
He was out cold.
So she goes and she makes him a sandwich and a glass of milk. I'm sure she made it for both of them, but that was really sweet of her. In walks the Terminator. He pushes the sliding glass door open. Now, I wonder, so Rick Rostovic, Matt, wakes up, right? And he sees the Terminator and he's like, oh shit, there's a person breaking into the room. Now, I wonder if Matt had never gotten up, would the Terminator have tried to, kill him or detain him?
No, he sort of comes and stands over him and he wakes up right as the Terminator's about to like punch right through his head.
Yeah, but why? Like, so getting back to the Terminator his only objective should have been Sarah.
That's true.
Why would he have gone after
Matt?
Matt?
He should have like snuck right past him.
He should have just walked right past him, right?
Except I guess he could get in the way if he didn't kill him.
Yeah, I guess. But anyway, so he punches through the pillow. And so Matt and the Terminator get into this big fight. And I was actually impressed that Matt held his own with quotations against the Terminator because he gets fucked up, right?
I love when he grabs that lamp and he's like, don't make me bust you up, man. Like he's going to take him on.
Yeah, he's thinking this is just a regular guy, right? So
and especially for holding out like that long after, like during the refractory period. The dude just had sex. He still goes like toe to toe for like a few seconds. Like
MVP.
He should have been spent,
you know,
right?
really, he is an unsung hero of this movie.
He's ready to fight the Terminator like wearing some bikini briefs.
Yeah, exactly.
He just got used up and spit out by old 20-minute video herself.
He's dehydrated as hell. Like he's waiting for that.
That says a lot about Ginger, right? That she could put a guy like that out, right?
Yeah.
But so Ginger's still in the kitchen. She's making a sandwich and she's got her headphones on, which, I mean, we're talking now she's got to have like ear damage, hearing loss, right? Because they have to be so loud for her not to hear this giant fight going on in the bedroom.
Those are not like noise canceling like they were the old school like Marty McFly headphones, you know, the like little foam whatever. You can hear everything.
Look, I don't know how you listen to triangles, but I listen to them at max volume.
I forgot to mention that while Ginger starts to make the sandwiches, Pugsley jumps off the top of the refrigerator and scares her. She says something about like how she would turn Pugsley into a leather belt. And again, we were talking about this. Like, I think the only reason that Pugsley was in this movie was for that scene right there to have that
little scare,
to have that little jump scare. But so anyway, she's walking back to the room. The Terminator throws Matt through the door. She is startled, and then she drops her plate of food, her milk.
That plate was piled high. She had made like a hero sandwich.
Exactly.
It's like a Dagwood.
And a giant and like a 32-ounce glass of milk. That is not like the preferred post-sex drink. I need a big glass of milk. Nah, you know, like Gatorade, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but so she drops her plate, she drops the milk. She's startled by the Terminator who busts out the room after seeing Matt on the floor, and Matt got jacked up, right?
Yeah, he was dead, clearly.
Yeah, he was totally dead.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if he was dead, but he might as well have been dead because he's talking like years in the hospital. But so the Terminator walks out. He pulls out his gun with the laser sight.
See, she tries to run away. She
does. So she's like nobody else does that except for her, right? But she turns to run away, and this is perfect about the Terminator. He just shoots her in the back like 6 or 7 times, cold-blooded, right?
He sends her like she goes airborne when he shoots her too, like flying through the air.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that I don't feel bad for the other Sarah Connors that were killed in the movie, but Ginger truly did not deserve it, right? She was
for sure
the most innocent of the people that were killed, right? The other people just shouldn't have been named Sarah Connor. I'm surprised that he killed her without like knowing that it was her. I guess he just thought it was her. Again, he just kills whatever, right? He doesn't care.
Yeah.
So the phone rings, and as the Terminator turns around, it's Sarah on the phone, right? And she's talking on the answer machine there.
That's bad timing.
Yeah.
Like if she hadn't called right then, I wonder if the Terminator just would have been like mission accomplished, or if the Terminator would have tried to figure out if the woman he just killed was Sarah or not.
That's a really good question, because in T3, the Terminator has a way of testing the DNA, right? But he didn't really have that. I guess he would have had to have killed her and then just
snoop around
and, see if the face matches the license or something like that.
That begs an interesting question, not to go down the time like travel loophole again. But what happens if the Terminator is successful in 1984 at killing Sarah Connor? That changes the future. Does he cease to exist? Does something change? Does something click where it knows that it's done that? Because then its future that sent him back is going to be different.
Or is that the next?
Or
I don't know how this shit works.
he could have become the T1000, right? Because he's a T100, right?
He's a T800.
He's a T800. So what's the liquid metal?
He's a T1000.
So he could have become the T1000 because now they don't have like the resistance holding them back for their technology, right?
Maybe. Or I don't know what would have happened. Is this like the first time ever that... No, it couldn't be the first time ever because John Connor has to have existed already in their future,
first time
right?
Ever for what? What do you mean?
That this whole thing has played out. Like that Reese has come back and fucked Sarah, essentially. Like to make John Connor exist. It's one of the every time travel movie has the same issue, right?
Yeah, there's always this little
is
catch.
it always meant to play out this way? Like this is the only way it could possibly happen? Or are they literally changing the future? Is it possible to change the future?
It's always
I just would have been interested to know if like it had known that it failed in that moment because it would have expected to cease to exist, or that something would have
like
fundamentally changed.
Like it knew it didn't succeed because it was still there.
Yeah, or something like that. I don't know. I wonder.
I get the feeling that it wouldn't because, and I'm not sure. I don't think Reese has explained this yet. But as soon as they send everybody through the time loop or the time hole, and they blew it up, right? So
it's stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah. So he would have killed Sarah, and then he just would have been stuck there as a Terminator, right? But then what do? Do you just break down? Because then if he just broke down, then they still would have found the parts of the Terminator to do what they did with Cyberdyne.
There's
it's a rabbit hole for sure.
This is taking it real deep, but I had in the original, like in the actual script to the movie, like whatever James Cameron wrote, there was this whole thing where the Terminator was under the impression that Sarah Connor had broken her leg at some point and had screws in her leg to like put the bone back together. So each Sarah Connor that he killed, he had also cut her leg open.
Oh God!
To look for these screws in the bone.
Kind of awesome.
So, so in theory, he would have cut Ginger open, and there would not have been screws there, and then he would know that this was not Sarah Connor.
Sure.
But then also, I think in that version of the script, it winds up that like later in the movie where Sarah breaks her leg, that's why she had the screws in her leg. It is something that hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
But in that version of the script, I guess the Terminator, that was his way of knowing for sure whether he had killed the right Sarah Connor or not. Was he cut her? And that's how the police knew that this was like not too unrelated, not a coincidence, but the same person. Because both Sarah Connors had had their legs then like filleted open.
That's freaking wild.
To check for the bone, whatever. Anyway, that's a deep cut for you deep Terminator fans.
That's the thing about, like we were saying, like about time travel movies. Like you can just go down a rabbit hole and you can go so deep into what if, like what would have happened. I think time travel movies happen if you don't look too much farther past the surface.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's the genius
and everything
also,
makes sense at that point too.
To me, it's the genius also of James Cameron that when he's writing a script, he thinks that far, that many different levels that I think then when they're making the movie, they're like, you know what, we don't need to think this hard about it. Like, because the audience isn't going to think as hard as you are thinking, James.
Because they're just like move it
let's
along,
just keep it moving. He doesn't need to cut her leg open to know. Like,
but again, they did it in T3 though, right? Like she killed somebody and then she tested DNA. So that would have been similar to the cutting the leg open.
Right.
Verification of the death of Sarah Connor. So Sarah's on the phone and she's basically telling the Terminator where she is, right?
Yes, I'm at this bar called Tech Noir.
Why don't you come find me?
Oops.
So at the police precinct, Sarah has now gotten through to Trexler and Vukovich. She's really frustrated. She's like, listen, I've been on the phone all night trying to get through you guys. I've been put on hold. I've been transferred. Please don't hang up on me. And luckily she got through to Trexler, right? Because he's like, yeah, I'm not going to do any of that stuff like that. Tell me where you're at. I'll send a car down to come pick you up. And she lets him know where she is. And then she goes and sits down and basically waits for the police to come pick her up.
I love Trexler being like, "Don't worry, you're safe. You're in a public place."
Yeah, yeah,
Like that's the genius of the movie.
yeah.
Is that this conventional wisdom does not apply?
Sure, they don't know what they're up against, right?
Like, don't worry, you're safe. Just stay in the crowded club and you'll be fine. And it's like, no, that's not the case, Lieutenant Traxler.
So Sarah takes a seat at one of these tables.
I just want to say this is the moment. I've seen this movie probably like fucking 100 times. And this is the first time I noticed that the song that's playing now is not the same song that was playing earlier. It's like it's both triangles and they sort of sound the same, but this song was like Burning in Love, or no, Burning in the Third Degree, and the other song was some other shit. But I'm just like, they sound fucking the same, which had me wondering, like, has this same song been playing for like half an hour?
So I like Lin-Manuel Miranda, right? But you can argue that some of his songs sound familiar, right?
Are you telling me he was in Triangles?
I'm just saying that might have been where he got to start. That's all I'm saying. Okay, we see the Terminator enter Tech Noir. And again, I don't know how he got there that quick, right? But whatever. I mean,
it's been like 20 minutes, I guess, 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was real quick, right? The Terminator walks in, and the lady again who made Sarah Connor pay that $450 to get in is like, "Hey, that guy didn't pay." So a bouncer tries to stop him, and Arnold breaks his hand, I guess, right?
Dude, imagine that shit.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
bad that would hurt.
Sure. I think probably they don't really talk about it, but one of the most awesome shots in this entire movie is about to come up where.
Dude. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, so when
slow-mo?
Sure. When Arnold's walking through the dance club and you see all these people dancing and everything.
She had accidentally, Sarah, like, bumped her drink off the counter.
She has a Canada Dry. So Canada Dry should have got some money
Dude,
for
what,
that,
is she drinking
right?
the club soda or the
She's
ginger
drinking like
ale?
a club soda, right? She bumps it. I wonder how many times they had to do that take, right? Because her elbow hits it and it knocks over.
The timing was just perfect.
Sure. So she bends over to pick up the drink, and the Terminator in slow-mo walks past her, literally as she just bends over to pick up her drink. And that is just such a great shot, right?
In my notes, I wrote down, like, I don't know there's ever been a better movie moment.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
of the tension, of the suspense, than when, like, he walks by and he's scanning
Sure.
the club and, like, he just had missed seeing her or
I mean, I
whatever.
think I'll Be Back is absolutely the most famous scene, but this is got to be a close second for anybody that loves film, or like any film directors or cinematographers out there. This is an awesome scene, right?
That chick that was dancing, like the one in the fucking...
In the red shirt, in the red dress.
I'm thinking about the one with like the blue zebra print, like
Yeah,
tank
and the
top
red-
and the red skirt.
and the red skirt, yeah.
Was so fucking hot, dude. Like, I don't know where they found her.
Yeah, well, she
I'd
shows up.
watch her movie.
She shows up a couple of times in
Dude,
that
you
scene.
can't take your eyes off her.
except
She's
for
perfect.
except for the Terminator and Sarah Connor. Other than that, so the Terminator walks past her, right? And so she gets up after getting her drink, and she looks over and she sees Kyle Reese in a mirror looking at her.
Yeah,
and she's
creepy as hell.
And he's I think he said he's thirsty. So Kyle
But he
Reese,
did look a little, he was just intense.
yeah, he's intense. Like, he's looking at her, right? And she knows what's up, right? Because she just saw this guy walk past outside. So she's
right.
like, now he's inside? What's the deal, right?
She's sure that Kyle Reese is trying to kill her.
And the fact that Kyle Reese even got into the building without her seeing that or anything, like,
And-
that's how stealthy he is.
And potentially without the cover charge.
Where
Where did he get
Where did he get
450?
Exactly.
He has a handful of cash later in the flick, and I do wonder where any of this money came from.
Yeah.
He's like ripping some people
I
off.
feel like Kyle
apparently.
Reese snuck in through the back, right? Like, that's
Yeah,
how good he
yeah.
is.
That
he
seems
came into like
more
the,
feasible than him getting a 5 spot.
exactly. He went up on the fire escape, went to the broke a window upstairs to the empty warehouse upstairs, and then he bore a hole into the ground, and he slipped into the men's bathroom, and then he walked
He
out.
dug a tunnel like Great
They
Escape shit.
did. They just didn't show that. So now the Terminator turns around as he's walking up, and he spots her, right? And he's slowly walking up to Sarah. He pulls out his gun and he starts to aim it at Sarah's forehead. And this is, again, when I was talking about how only Ginger's the only one that ran, right? She just is like a deer in headlights when he walks up with the gun
But
in her
could you
forehead.
blame her? Like, I think she was sure Kyle Reese was the bad guy, and then all of a sudden some other dude is there.
I can blame her because the other two Sarahs didn't know somebody was out to kill him, right? So they would have just been like, what the fuck's going on? This Sarah Connor, she knew that somebody was after her, right? And just because she thought it was Kyle Reese, doesn't mean that she didn't know that somebody was after her, right?
This is an awesome moment, though.
Yeah.
Like the slow motion and the sound design and everything.
Absolutely.
Like it's like a dream.
No, this is one of the best scenes in the movie, right? So Kyle Reese now knows that this is the Terminator coming to get her. So he pulls out his shotgun as the Terminator aims at Sarah's forehead. Kyle Reese blows him away. And he shoots him like several times, right?
This is that moment, though, dude, where I was telling you when I was watching it with someone who never saw the movie before, she was like shocked at this moment. Like she was sure that both Arnold and Michael Biehn were both there to kill Sarah.
Sure.
And she was like, whoa, like when he popped out and shot the Terminator.
Yeah, it just doesn't have the same punch I think that it could have had if they had just done that earlier, I guess, if they had kind of, you didn't know if the Terminator was bad or if you didn't know if Kyle Reese was bad. So, but that's just me. So Kyle Reese has shot the Terminator. He's down on the ground, but then you see his hand move, and then he gets up.
That's when Terminator pops back up and he starts like spraying bullets all over, and Reese dives behind the bar.
Sure, yeah, and he just start shooting at random people because he thinks he saves Sarah.
Isn't that what you would think the Terminator would do just by default? Like, what does it care how many people it kills?
The Terminator sees her running towards the exit, and then he shoots at her. But luckily, there's there's another lady that's right behind her, and she gets shot and falls on top of Sarah. Right, Sarah's trying to get away from the Terminator, and as he's walking up on her, and he does like this really cool where he puts in the magazine, clicks it, and he aims the gun at her, and Kyle Reese shoots Terminator again because he comes out of nowhere.
That's where I felt like it was a little odd to me that Terminator was like wasting all these bullets shooting at Reese. Like, what does it care? Like, I would think its only objective is I'm going to kill Sarah.
Sure,
like, I'm just surprised that it even cares that there's someone else shooting bullets at it. That if the bullets aren't actually doing it any harm.
Well, so there aren't like little bullets, right? There aren't little bullets that he can just take and absorb and they don't hurt him. It was a shotgun that was literally taking him like off his mark. So I could see where he would want to stop that threat first and then get Sarah. So Reese shoots him a couple of times, knocks the Terminator out of the front window of Tech Noir and onto the sidewalk. But then the Terminator, of course, slowly gets up, and Sarah sees this, and then she was like, oh, this is when shit is real, right? This is when Reese walks up to her and says, come with me if you want to live, right? One of the probably the second most famous line of this entire franchise. Sarah's in a daze, but she snaps out of it. She runs.
Oh, I will say, to speak to how like famous that line is, that first time viewer was aware of that line who had never seen the movie before. Sure. Which is like, oh, okay, that's that line.
And was she like, holy shit, I can't believe that's where this came from?
I think she knew it was from, I think somehow it was one of those things like I'll be back or whatever. Like she knew it was from Terminator, even having never seen it. But it was like that famous, Like a yippee-ki-yay motherfucker or something. Like you would just know even if you never saw the movie or whatever.
Reese and Sarah run out the back door. Terminator starts to follow them. And isn't this like the first time that they show the heads-up display for the Terminator?
Yeah, like the Terminator POV.
Yeah. Reese, he's done this before, right? So he takes cover under his car, and then he blows out like the gas tank of a car that is in front of him, and it blows up right in front of the Terminator. Of course, the Terminator, being a Terminator, jumps through the fire as Reese is backing away. Terminator jumps onto the hood of the car, punches through the windshield. He's trying to grab Sarah, but I think Reese kind of does like this crazy reverse driving, and he throws him off into the street. Reese takes off with Sarah. There's this police officer that comes up. That guy was William Wisher, I believe is his name. He was one of the co-writers of this film.
He was the one who said the thing about It's a Wonderful Life, like with guns.
Yeah.
Oh, he was the co-writer and he said that? That's amazing.
I think that was really cool. That I feel like there's a lot of like little placements of people in the movie that has something to do directly with the film. Like we said, Lance Henriksen, he didn't get the Terminator role, but he was placed in the movie because he helped get funding, right?
Wasn't it also a product of probably the movie was so cheap, it's like Clerks or whatever, you're just getting all your friends to
got all his
appear
buddies to play in it, right? So that's this William Wisher guy.
This scene in the club and then in the alley was like the only time that Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and Michael Biehn were ever like on screen together, like in the same scenes together.
Yeah, because
Other scenes like the Terminator's always on his own and those two are together.
Yeah, so
and
do you
then
think-
at the end, he's just the special effects like a robot, not actually Arnold.
So they like Arnold came in and did like 5 weeks of work, and then they were like hasta la vista, and then and then Sarah and Linda Hamilton and Michael Biehn finished out the rest of all the
Sure.
Stan Winston stuff.
Hell yeah.
So this cop gets slammed up against the car door. I guess he's knocked out. I don't think he's killed.
That's another, he couldn't have been killed, right? But maybe anytime the Terminator touches you, you're just like dead.
Yeah, kind of like a virus or something like that. Let's see, the Terminator heads out into the direction of Reese and Sarah where they're going, and that will end part 2 of the Terminator.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
It's
well,
been
Yeah.
it's a wild ride. We're finally into like we figured out what's going on.
yeah,
I
we're
guess.
starting to get into the meat of the story now, and so yeah, like,
But it is still, we don't know anything about why anyone's trying to kill her. Like,
Yeah,
there's
that's
still
right.
so many unanswered questions, right?
yeah. And what are we probably like 30 minutes into the film,
Something like that, or more, 40, I don't know. But yeah, we don't know. We still don't really know what's going on, so we got to wait for all that exposition's coming soon, though.
I just want to say one thing there, though, just not to drag this on, but like, as we've been talking about this, and you're mentioning right now that we still at this stage of the movie don't know like the motivation of the Terminator being there. It just makes me think about like watching these movies after I've seen them so many times and just knowing the arc, trying to recapture when I first watched it and not having that knowledge.
Sure.
Like that's hard to recapture upon these rewatches, right? And I think
Yeah.
it goes to like everything you were saying about like not quite knowing the who's good, who's bad, or they both sort of like what's happening here. It's hard to recapture like that not knowing.
Sure.
It's pretty great. And I think it speaks to how good the movie is that you're still drawn in and you're
Mhm.
still invested, even not knowing any of that shit. Like,
Yeah.
you're just like-
yeah,
I guess at some point it'll be explained. And until then, I'm just in the dark.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess I agree. I watched it again. Like I watched it actually twice today, and and yeah, I just think that when I originally saw it, I was just like, oh man, who is the bad guy? Because I just remember it so well from T2. I don't remember it that well from this movie, you know. And
Yeah.
I can admit I might have seen T2 first before I saw Terminator.
I
Well,
think
I
that's
see-
true of a lot of people.
Yeah, I might have seen T2
And
first.
the thing is, you know, whatever else you may or may not know about the movie, you know that Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Terminator.
yeah,
Even if you never saw the movie before. I think it's just one of those things that you're like, it's in the ether, like it's in the zeitgeist. You just know
hmm
Schwarzenegger's the Terminator. I don't know anything about whether he's good or he's bad or whatever. But I just know he's a robot and he's the Terminator.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, man, it's a lot to unpack, dude. It's such a fucking good movie.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone for listening. A whole lot more to go. I know we're going on and on, but it's because it's fucking classic Mount Rushmore type action movie. So yeah, thank you to Kevin Egan.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So glad to have Mike and OG 6 Degrees back on the program, and we'll be back.